Good morning, and let me welcome you to our Abuja studio this beautiful, cool morning. My name is Mwabo Zenjoko, and this is a very special edition of the Signature Morning, and I'll tell you why. What I've done this morning is to assemble a college of lawyers to be able to address a fundamental legal issue that the Independent National Electoral Commission raised last week. Now, what did the Inec chairman say? We had done a story here on early campaigns in which we pointedly told the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because we addressed him as a candidate of APC who had begun campaign with billboards in Lagos, billboards in Abuja, billboards in Kano, outside of the timetable provided by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Now, we raised issues in that story. One, is there not a punishment for breaking this rule? What constitutes campaign? Must it be a radio, television, newspaper advertisement promoting a particular candidate? What is the difference between all those and the billboards? We showed you pictures of a convoy of buses clearly written Tinubu 2027. 7 of them rushing to in the direction of Nasarawa State. Now, we also showed you bus stops where it was written free bus Tinubu 2027. Now, the presidency reacted and said Tinubu was not responsible for those campaigns. They were being done by third party. And then we raised another question. Who will punish the third party? Just last week, the Independent National Electoral Commission said they were appealing to the National Assembly to enact specific laws to punish those early campaigns. And so this morning, what I've done is to assemble a college of lawyers. I am not learned, so I'm going to be educated this morning to know whether Inec does not have enough powers already to address that challenge, or whether Inec is playing the ostrich. Now, to educate me this morning, I have from my right, I'm going to come from institutional basis. From my extreme right, I have Clement Chukwuemeka. Each time Clement comes, I ask him whether the weather is not clement today.
The weather is always clement.
The weather is clement. And Clement is immediate past second vice chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association. Clement, you're welcome to the program.
Pleasure having me. Immediate past
second vice president of the Nigerian Bar Association. Now, on my right is Maxwell Opara, PhD, a lawyer, and an activist. Now, if you look at him this morning, he's not smiling at all. He says he's angry with everything about the legal profession, everything about the judiciary, everything about law and order. But please, we're discussing law and order. Maxwell, you're welcome to the program.
It's my pleasure.
I hope it will be a pleasure for us to take it easy.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And on my left is Adekunle Oladapo Otiteji, PhD. He is also a lawyer and a legal consultant. Dapo, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure having you here.
Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, let me also start from that institutional, because Chukwuemeka, I'm insisting that you be speaking, because the Nigerian Bar Association, with that past or present, must have a voice in this matter.
Definitely.
Now, the Inec chairman is asking for a new law to address infractions of its rules, beginning campaign earlier than it should. First, that beginning campaign earlier than it should, how do you describe it? Political rascality, absence of rule of law, or what?
Well, I would say that one of the problems that this Nigeria electoral system has had recently is the advent of bringing in some of the allegedly professors into the affairs of this election. Ordinarily, we were thinking that when you have professors within the environment, you're going to have a very, very intellectual beings handling things that will not compromise by any standard. But the way we are having it, because they are supposed to be learned, they're supposed to have abreast with all the letters of the Constitution, all the letters of the Electoral Act and all that. But the statement actually credited to the Inec chairman, definitely interested in having new laws. To me, I wouldn't understand at basis, but for me, I feel that Inec, the Inec being a creation of the Constitution by virtue of Section 153 sub F, has that particular latitude to organize and regulate itself. So not necessarily looking for a fresh law, except he wants some specifications. But he has all the rights, all the powers to regulate affairs of political parties and regulate issues that pertain in elections in Nigeria.
Okay. Now, Maxwell, INEC is asking for a law to address early campaign. In other words, INEC has established that that is fouling of a rule or fouling of a regulation. Does INEC require a new law? I will soon go through what the Constitution provides. I read it, gentlemen, because so that I can educate us. Do you think INEC should be asking for a new law or enforcing its own rules and regulations?
Yes, INEC requires a new law with respect to criminalizing or declaring early campaign as electoral offenses, as one of the electoral offenses. Anything short of that, INEC cannot. If you watch the Constitution gave INEC the power to make rules, but the Supreme Court, in the case of P2B and INEC and President Tinubu, Supreme Court said that INEC rules is not a mandatory law. Having said that, now Section 114 down to, I think it down to sorry, so that I don't, Section 114 down to Section 129 of the Electoral Act 2022 as amended listed what are electoral offenses. So express mention of one thing is exclusion of another. Now, having mentioned what are electoral offenses, on what basis will INEC, because early campaign was not listed as one of the electoral offenses.
That is in the Electoral Act.
In the Electoral Act. Now, if you are now asking INEC to make a rule to make early campaign as an offense, which means that rule now has been inconsistent with the Act. And any rule that is inconsistent with the Act, that rule shall not be applied as a valid law. Just like where an Act cannot be inconsistent with the Constitution. Now that is the reason why, the people that are making these laws for us are these characters who have in the National Assembly and call themselves politicians. Because if actually they want this country to progress, there are some things that we should not be talking about amendment of the Electoral Act by now, because the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal and the Federal High Court in the pre-election and post-election matters has told you the reflections, the emptiness, the lacunas we have in the Electoral Act. They expected them to use, I wrote a memo to them, I raised all those issues, sending it to them. You can eat your whatever allowances because you are not doing anything as far as Master Lopez is concerned. They are doing absolutely nothing. This one, they are regime to do what? They are not doing anything. Those of us that have decided to look at the law, burn the candle, did everything, give it to you. Your own is to put your signature there, send it to the president, let it be so that you can make progress. Are they telling me that they are not aware that any campaign is not an offence, electoral offence. Now, are we supposed to, is there any other law that's supposed to come in? Yes, there are some other laws. Any act that is capable of a breach of peace is a crime. That is where police can come in. All those people who are putting this billboard, they are committing an offence
capable of breaching the peace.
Breaching the peace. Don't shift it to Inec, because Inec is a regulation and the law has told him what he's supposed to do. But under the Constitution, under the Police Act, under every other relevant laws, police have unlimited power to look at something, including your marriage. If you and your wife, you are fighting, nobody should tell police that is a matrimonial issue. No, police cannot fold their hands to allow one of you to kill yourself. They will have to come in.
In other words, police is in fact should have looked at those billboards as a crime.
I hear them saying, remove it. Remove it. You should remove it. Are you telling me that people have not even written a petition? If people have not even written a petition, under Police Act, you have the right to initiate investigation. Because this thing they are doing may cause trouble. Okay. Do you want to tell me that I didn't that the P2B or Tinubu or any other person that is doing this thing, they would have get the person arrested? So these are the issues where we said now make it an offence so that it can also fall into the electoral offences as provided by the electoral act.
Oh, okay, I'm going to have to, because Maxwell has raised a number of issues. Now, permit me to look at the Constitution. Now, the INEC was established in accordance with Section 153, which Chukwemeka has spoken about, F of the Constitution. And the functions of the Commission are stipulated in Part 1 of the third schedule of the 1999 Constitution as amended, and they are the following: organize, undertake, and supervise all elections to the offices of President, Vice President, blah, 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 blah. Register political parties in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution or an act of the National Assembly. Monitor the organization and operation of political parties, including their finances. Arrange for the annual examination and auditing of the funds and accounts of political parties. Arrange and conduct the registration of persons qualified to vote and all that. Now listen to this. Monitor political campaigns and provide rules and regulations.
Yes.
Now, if the Constitution has given INEC the power to monitor campaigns and provide rules and regulations, does INEC not already have a constitutionally provided inherent power to determine the rules, punish infractions, and stop infractions?
I support my learned friend's position. He said something very important.
Chukwemeka.
Yes. Even though the Electoral Act in Section 114 to 120, about 122, it's already specify what are electoral offences. The electoral, the INEC itself is a body that is empowered to make rules and regulations, organize and ensure proper organization of election. And in doing that, they have that powers to set rules and regulation for campaigns. And then that will take us to the provisions in the Electoral Act, where it provides 150 days campaign.
90,
you understand?
94.
And
then 90 days.
Section 94.
That's Section 94 of the Electoral Act. Now, that provision only gave a provision without punitive.
Good, that is it.
Provisions, no punitive provisions. But INEC can come under that rules and regulations.
It's power to make rules and regulations
and create a punitive measure for any political party.
Deriving its authority from the Constitution.
Section 153.
Yes.
That schedule that you read that empowers INEC
To
regulate. So, making sanctions is part of the duties of INEC. INEC does not need to go back to
the National
Assembly to ask the people that are committing the crime,
beneficiaries,
the beneficiaries of those provisions.
No, of the crime they are committing.
The crime and provisions, yes, because the provisions is coming to them. Now, the rules and regulations to govern electoral campaigns should be run by INEC.
And the punishment for infraction.
Yes, INEC have the power by that rules and regulation provisions given to them under that schedule of the Constitution.
Maxwell, let me just ask you, does INEC have the power to disqualify a candidate?
Yes.
Is it specifically provided in the Constitution?
Yes. Because if you watch electoral offenses, each and every one of them has to do with sanction.
Yes.
When they provide the law, they provide the sanction.
Yes.
That's where because one thing is to arrest somebody, get somebody arrested, and arraign the person in court. Another thing is for you to tell the court under what law you are bringing the charge, and the person also have a right to challenge that charge, say that what I committed is never an offense
because it's not in law.
Because it's not in law.
No.
I understand. So the point I'm making is that the National Assembly know what to do. The INEC also, most of the times, they know what to do. But meanwhile, of course, you can see the man who have as in the Home of Affairs of the INEC.
Yes, Professor.
Well, yes, I normally say, most of the times I ask myself, how does this man go to bed and sleep, seeing the country like this? Because whatever thing that we are passing through now, he will answer it. Now, if INEC did what they're supposed to do at the issue, allow the people that Nigeria elected to be there. All these people, these things we shouldn't have. Because one, I cannot even question any of them, most of them, because somebody elected them. And in fact, one governor told his cabinet members, listen, let me tell you, nobody should come here to tell me anything. You don't know how I managed to become the governor. And which is true. Nobody knows how he managed to become the governor. Because he was in his house, he said that you are the winner. From first to first. So whichever that is the case, INEC should not be crying. That's why I don't have sympathy. But we are talking about the law. Because I have looked at the law.
Thank you very much.
What fall under what will constitute electoral offense? Early campaign is not one of them. The Electoral Act condemn it. Condemnation of an act does not criminalize. It's just just like Democrats said, is on a moral ground, and morality has no place in law.
You know, okay, Chukwumeka, I asked him a question whether INEC has the power to disqualify a candidate, and his answer has put me in a quandary, because he says yes, but it is specified as an offense under the law. There is no specific punishment provided for early campaign. However, the Constitution says you make rules, you make regulations. In matter of jurisprudence, can't you extrapolate and say, since I have the powers to make rules and regulate, don't I also have the power, by that same power, to punish anybody who disobeys the rule?
Thank you for that wonderful question. The most important thing we need to look at is INEC, by its name, independent. That independency is just by paper. You cannot see it inherent in them that they are independent. You understand what I'm saying? They are not independent by the way they ought to be independent. For them to, put out what the regulations, what the Constitution, the powers the Constitution have given to them. That is the problem they are having. They cannot tell me that a Constitution have given you power to regulate. Having powers to disqualify or even to disqualify a political party from participation. The register to do a lot of things. We shouldn't be looking at criminalizing. We are looking at, these are political party. You have all the whole right to say, you are not qualified to contest because you violated this and that and that by virtue of that section 95 of Electoral Act, which guarantees them that powers to regulate, to put up that regulation. That is enough. And let us look at the 2029 case, Action Alliance versus and others versus Inec. It makes it mandatory that they have the right under the timetable, which is not contained in any way in the Constitution. But because of Inec provides timetable for an election, which is their duty in regulating and putting up. When you mistake or mismanage the timetable that has been laid out by Inec, it is an offense by the political party, and you know the consequences. So if INEC can come up without bringing, we don't need people to be in prison because we don't have prisons. Prisons are even overcrowded.
They are congested.
There should be a non-custodian approach, reprimand. You know, giving an example, like as my learned colleague Marcel Opera have just said, those companies that are mounting these billboards are known and their addresses are known. There are people that pay them for these adverts to be published, and these are public advertisement. They are facing us every morning and night whenever you are passing. You are reading them, you are having kind of emotions, you are having some feelings that this is a wonderful billboard. Because I have seen one place that they say, I will vote for this man because it's very beautiful. This was an election of I think 1990, the early, let me just say, Duke in Cross River was voted mostly because he was a very handsome man. His posters convinced us to vote for him. We never knew him in Cross River State as at that time when we were in university. So this early advert or early campaign by placing billboard in public places convinces electorate, and there should be a way to regulate it. In regulating it, you do not need a reprimand or bringing somebody to put them in prisons. The best approach is to, there are companies that owns these billboards. People approach them to fix this billboard. You approach them, you get it from there. Police, as my level colleague have said, has all the powers, inherent powers, to go up on investigation in ascertaining who actually did this and reprimand. You can say remove this within so and so time because you are violating so and so based on the letter, because they have the powers to regulate. INEC has all the whole powers to regulate. And in this action alliance versus INEC I mentioned in 2019, it's a Supreme Court authority, and this very going contrary to the timetable of INEC.
It's an offense.
It's an offense, and it's just a regulation. So can't you indirectly or directly pronounce that going against any campaign which has already been used in the Electoral Act shall 150 days and 24 hours before the polling day? Can't you do something as a particular person? For the purposes of this, the period of campaigning in public of every political party shall commence 150 days before polling day and end 24 hours prior to that date. What again do you want?
I'm sure you want to elucidate more, Maxwell. But does can't INEC test the legal waters?
Yes, INEC has failed in their duties by even approaching
the National Assembly. They are not independent.
They have failed. You see, when you say you have power and you don't use the power, then you are pushing the public to doubt the capacity you have. INEC has legal department. They have drafting departments. They have various departments. They have personnel departments. Now, INEC provides timetable for election. In providing timetable for election, like my friend have said, if you breach one day,
you are done.
You go to Supreme Court, they will stick to it. Now you say 150 days. People have started election.
Campaign.
Well, they can say that they are not doing campaign because they are not gathering. That is not my business.
No, we may have to look at the dictionary of campaign.
For the purpose of our discourse,
that is campaign.
INEC just need to come out with their own rules and regulation about campaign. because that is what we are facing now. Now, you are disrupting a lot of things in the public space. Some of them will go with the convoys of vehicle,
blessing with their names and pictures and political parties now, and the positions they are seeking.
Exactly. Right now, who I think Inec should go after is a party, not even individual, because they put their parties there, and they said it is parties that run. That goes into election. Supreme Court have said this several times. So, if Inec can say any political party in their rules, it doesn't have to be in the Electoral Act.
Whose candidates?
Whose any political party who, of course, prior to 150 days, campaign will be disqualified from having to field candidate for that position around whatever in that area or vicinity. If you have a billboard in Abuja and we see a picture of somebody coming out
and using your PDP, whatever it is,
don't question it. Then it means that the political party has been found to have infringed that particular provision.
Yes, Maxwell. I'm sure that you are listening to the submissions.
Yes, we are talking about law, and I want us to see it from that angle. In the first instance, Clement talks about disqualification for going against electoral Inec rules. The Constitution and the Inec has provided the things that will make you to be disqualified from voting and be voted for. The Electoral Act and the Constitution has also provided who qualifies to run an election. The old Constitution also made provision for what will render a particular vote invalid. In all these things, any campaign has no place in law. Rather, it has a place in morality. Now, do we have any ground upon which we can correct this? Yes. See what happened in Nasarawa State, where some youths woke up and set ablaze the billboard of President Tinubu. That is not last 2 weeks. Go to the north. I'm sure that they can only do it in Abuja. They can't do it in where people are aggrieved. In fact, the person who even mounting that distance will regret the day God created him. Now, the point we are making is that the law for INEC to criminalize, to punish any campaign, they need another law. Now, if somebody now said you are not going to run this election, you are hereby disqualified from running this election because you started early campaign.
The party.
Whether the party or the candidate, whichever one. I am saying, because after they're campaigning, nobody should tell me that they are not campaigning. I saw a very senior colleague I have respect for. He said that they are not. What do you mean they are not campaigning? They are campaigning. Silence means consent. If you use my poster and paste it in a paper road, Maxwell for Senate 2027, I will be the person to supervise people that will pull it down. What am I doing? To pass a message that I'm not a party to it. And I will come to the television to make announcement. I will mobilize people, especially you are the president, the DSSs are under you, everybody under you. What have you done? You pay money indirectly for people to be campaigning for you. Who is a kid in this country? So that one, they are campaigning. And I'm telling you that why the police cannot do their work, DSSs cannot do their work. They only take ratio where they say that president, you are this. That's what they are doing. The things that are causing trouble here. Do you know that this Nigeria is hungry? People are dying, and you are showing the process. People, they are killing people in hundreds every day, and you are putting the board. That thing only is enough to cause a very big protest in this country. Had it been that Nigeria is not a banana republic, you can't do it. There are some things that you don't do outside. I know what I'm telling you. Excuse me, sir.
No, let us go on the national.
Excuse me.
I'll allow him and I tell him that I have not eaten banana this morning.
The point I'm making is that there are some things our politicians are doing and get away with it. I know what I'm saying.
That ought not to be.
Yes, because they believe that they can do it and nobody will protest. No protest in Nigeria again. You are saying that we are not no protest. Have you seen a country that there is no protest?
We are protesting here. We are arguing issues. We are debating matters.
We are not protesting here. How many persons get time to watch this thing? Protest means going to the street. I just came back from Vienna, Austria. Do you know why they are protesting? Do you know why they are protesting, sir? That the wife of one of the, is it as we normally call them, municipal district,
one of the councillors.
The wife bought another dog, and the dog, they know the cost implication of that dog. They said the man should resign. Yeah, there in Vienna last 2 weeks. I said, is that why these people are protesting? So
over ownership of extra dog.
Yes,
that is extra cost.
The other person in Germany went on vacation with the wife. They said that he must resign because the vacation they asked him to go is only him. How does he get the money that to carry the wife? So these are the items. Now somebody will be doing something here, just like yesterday, day before yesterday. Some persons sat down police with the police uniform, army uniform. They sat down with criminals negotiating. Criminals who are there with AK-47 negotiating in this country. That's another day. So because one, when we are saying this thing, most of the persons are listening, and I can't see red, I will call it black. I see black, I will be calling it white, because you feel that when you say it will be sanctioned. No, we are not behaving well, and that's why you see somebody 2 years before the election. People are dying, inflation is on a high rate, the doctors are on strike, and they are telling us to re-elect you again. Are you supposed to tell us to re-elect you again? It's not a work they are supposed to tell us.
Okay, but we're talking about asking that for that re-election within the rules. Yes. That's the conversation this morning.
The early campaign, the Inec needs
under law.
Yes, they should make it as electoral offense.
Okay, but there's something that I'm coming to immediately. There's something that has come out from this conversation, that once in this country the Supreme Court had said the powers of INEC to create timetable is equivalent to a law. If you disobey it, you pay for it.
Yes.
That Supreme Court pronouncement is like a constitutional amendment. It can be cited.
It's judicial precedent.
It's a judicial precedent.
What was it?
It's 2019.
It's case law.
2019.
Yes.
And in 2023, what does the Supreme Court talk about INEC rules?
Timetable.
No.
Timetable.
Timetable is very, see, with due respect.
Yes, but I was coming to yes.
By virtue of the pronouncement of Supreme Court on timetable, it has become our law. And that gives, in fact, the provisions of Electoral Act on issues of timetable is law.
That thing is derived from rules.
With due respect,
It's derived from rules of
INEC. Exactly.
Then the Supreme Court, the same Supreme Court 2023, what did they say about the rules of INEC?
No, they said that the rules of INEC is the rules of INEC and the law are two separate things. That's what they said. They distinguish the law and rules of INEC. But in any case, they said that the provisions of timetable is very sacrosanct.
Made by the
Yes.
rules.
Made by INEC.
Because of they are seizing their powers under the rules.
Yes.
And when the Supreme Court talk about the rules,
let me tell you, there are two things. The argument of the Supreme Court in that Peter Obi's case is different from timetable.
The real
arguments are different. The argument of timetable. When you are supposed to do primaries, when your name is supposed to get to INEC, they are sacrosanct.
And then that should include when campaigns should start.
Now, the issue of rules of whether during the time of election, there's what's it called? Transmission of results. That's a different thing. So Supreme Court are dealt with that in a different manner. But in issues of timetable, they have taken it as law. And in any case, every political party in Nigeria today believe clearly that if you don't meet the timetable of INEC, they are out.
That's all.
That's all. Now, in creating sanctions for people who go against that provision of the section, saying what it is INEC that have to sit down and look at that rules and regulation.
That's all.
And once they do that rules and regulation, it becomes a law. And And if you want to challenge it, the court is there. Go and challenge it, and let us see what the court will say. Because they are independent, and they have to make provisions to make regulations of election.
Actually, to come in, one of the cardinal responsibilities that we have been talking about for INEC is purely becoming an independent commission. By the time they live by their word, by the letter of their name, we will not have all these issues. By the time a competent person who will look at red and call it red, they will be dishing out regulations that every person who violates such regulations will pay dearly for it. Let's take for example, there is nowhere constitutionally where if you file your processes in court on electoral matters and your processes are beyond the specified page, there is nowhere in the law, but there is a rules of court that said if you go against this particular thing and pagination and get this above certain number of pages, you are completely out of it. No matter how beautiful your case is, the judgment of that court will return that you completely failed it, and it is there. So the rules are, sometimes the INEC, for God's sake, Constitution have given them power for regulation.
Exactly.
The provision of section 94, section 95 of the Electoral Act 2022 have given them absolute powers again. It is only because on that man whom this particular power has been, how do you now come up and deliver on this particular mandate? These are very, very simple.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
This is what we call delegated legislation. You are already having it. It is delegated to you. And delegated legislation is part of the sources of our laws. When we are delegated these powers to regulate, you are also delegated powers to make sanctions, to be able to make control of what you are giving powers to regulate. And now, as a delegated institution whose powers are to control election, regulate election, we believe that they should have their rules outside clearly stating when and when to start election, and whoever goes against this time, the sanctions for it. And it does not mean that if they disqualify you, it doesn't stop the process of election. You will go to court.
No, yes,
the election that brought in that that Bayelsa that the Supreme Court sacked on the basis of the name of the deputy.
Yes.
Is it written? Where is it written now?
Okay. I will draw from you, but I want Maxwell to. That's an intervention I want to make.
You see, when my colleagues are talking, what has been going inside my mind? Are they living in this country with me?
It depends on what you are talking about.
There are some countries that don't have laws, written laws.
Yes.
They don't have written laws. But things are moving in their own country as it is.
Yes.
So there is one local class schools case we call that this on jurisdiction.
Yes.
That matter, that decision was taken in 1962. Am I right? It's not up to one page. This judgment is not up to one page till tomorrow.
It's cited.
People are still citing it. Now, why do we even? We have the first time we had was what do you call it? The INEC machines now.
Vivas.
The first time we brought in the Vivas. That was for 2011 election. Supreme Court carried all those Vivas the first time we brought it and put them inside those bins. You know what they said? That is unknown
the law
to electoral
act.
Yes,
it's
I
not.
agree.
Yes,
I agree.
Now
it's not.
Now,
but it was incorporated in the new act.
Excuse me. Now, who is now incorporated in the new act, and the act did not talked about mandatory transmission. INEC make a rule.
Yes.
Saying that it is mandatory. The same Supreme Court said that since the Electoral Act
did not provide
mandatory
specifically,
is not that
not legal.
INEC policy and rules cannot take the position of the state. So you see the condition we find ourselves.
So this is when I was telling you.
So if these people go ahead to bring down any billboard or do anything, suspend anybody,
yeah, political party.
Let us have it as law.
The Supreme Court judiciary. In fact, I want to stop coming to the studio because I don't know how to put my mouth to talk. They say that you are castigating the judiciary.
Yeah. Let me talk. Calm down.
Because what? Because had it been that these things these people are saying will fly when we have a system that is functioning. When we have, in fact, for you to even take a decision, sir, for Trump now in America now to make any policy, you first of all check what the court will say, because courts are busy.
Even the counties can challenge.
Rendering all his policies. But yeah, who can do it? Sir, somebody wake up in the morning and say that I hereby suspend the elected government of the state. Somebody wants to.
We have discussed that here.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Somebody wants to court and file it.
See, there's no perfect country.
There's a perfect country. Excuse me. Let me finish.
There is no perfect country.
Excuse me.
No, we can't.
Excuse me, sir.
See, let
me land.
Okay.
Because when we are talking about there's no perfect country, there's no perfect country. What do you mean by there's no perfect country?
There's no perfect country.
What do you mean? We need a perfect life.
With due respect, I'm not excusing
a better life.
I'm not excusing some illegality that
you are not.
I'm not excusing.
You are not.
You are making it.
No, I'm giving instances. Excuse me.
Okay, calm down, gentlemen, calm down. And gentlemen, these are two highly knowledgeable gentlemen. Otitoji PhD, Marshall Awara PhD. Let's go ahead. I'm the only PhD.
No. The point we are making is that what we are talking about is, my father used to tell me that they put evening mass because morning mass is not complete. Are you what I'm saying? And if this snake head bite you, if you see this head, you should be running. So since I've been called to buy, I have not done anything. I'm into pure litigation. I know what I'm talking about. Because if we have a functional, remember that we said when the executive misbehave, you rush to judiciary. When the parliament misbehave, you rush to judiciary. When the judiciary misbehave, where do we run to? That is the essence of this discussion. This shouldn't have been a discussion. Because when you watch the position of the judiciary and know what you're going to get, you won't even think about. In fact, when somebody say you are going to contest 2027, say I beg, please. Do you get what I'm saying? Because there are some things that you ask me now to do as a lawyer. There are some bits you ask me to do. There are some things. When I remember the use of professional APDC, I will say no. Are you get what I'm saying? So if we have this particular, this thing cannot fly, and INEC chairman know what he's doing, what he's talking about.
Okay, let me take you from there. Maswala Pola has raised a fundamental query about the role of the judiciary in getting INEC to function as an independent organization. His fear is if INEC decides to operate within your two presentations. The Constitution has provided for this. I have its inherent powers, and therefore, since I have the power to regulate, the Constitution cannot say what will I regulate if I cannot determine what should and what should not. What happens to what should not if there's no sanction against it? If I reason that way, Maxwell says, I will not be supported by the judiciary. I won't get the backing of the judiciary. So he says.
Yes.
But gentlemen, do you think that judiciary is the institution not allowing INEC to be independent and use the provisions of the Constitution to perform its function in this matter of early campaign? Chukwemeka, let me begin with you.
Well, we continue to rely and continue to say it to the admiration of everybody that the judiciary remains the last hope of a common man. Not only common man now, of everybody.
Of even the man.
Everybody. For the fact that some decisions may not really go by the way some people really did. It's just Nigeria is a growing concern. Definitely there will be a time that things will definitely be perfect. And there is no, as my learned colleague have just said, there is no pure perfect country. But I think the judiciary revolving. There are a lot of things going on. There are a lot of things.
This your line of argument is still a destination to be arrived.
Definitely, there is the head. If you look at the kind of sanctions that are going on, trying to recalibrate, trying to sanction within their system, and getting the best. Those who fortify their ages and all that have been shown the way out of judiciary. So I really commend the leadership, which is the head of the judiciary. I feel that the judiciary, definitely we are getting to that point where they will look at the interpretation of regulation and give it the proper meaning.
Okay, Oditoju,
yes, sir.
How do you feel? Do you think that the judiciary is the challenge now into allowing INEC to grow into independent, using its powers as provided for in the Constitution without being hamstrung by the absence of specific punishments prescribed? Are we going to provide punishment for everything, really?
No, judiciary has never been the problem of INEC. Judiciary have always been interpreting laws the way they perceive it to be. Well, like I said, there are some conflicting decisions, but in having conflicting decisions in election matters does not nullify judiciary as being going against. Mistakes happen.
Yes.
They are infallible. They are not infallible. Judiciary today has saved this country from serious calamities. Now, is it judiciary that declares state of emergency in Port Harcourt? Is it judiciary? If you don't go to the court, will judiciary have benefit of deciding it? You see, there are so many things that we have today that we have been limited by so many reasons. There are some interpretations that have up to today. Do you know now the Rivers State imbroglio? We have no judicial statement because politicians could not together withdraw cases. They will say it's political settlement. So, will you blame judiciary for that? If you say you want to withdraw your suit, will the judge say no, I don't decide it? You withdraw your suit and go, and the man will strike it out. So you don't have benefit of interpretation, and tomorrow you cannot control to struck out. So will you not say because of that judiciary have problem? So most of these things are still political actors born back to our politicians. And judiciary is also a reflection of our society, because it is the people in the society that becomes a judge. Now, where we need, if my brother is called to the bench now, he will not go. Chief Opara will not go there. Why will he go and be a judge? He's above it, and he cannot sit to be a judge because he has some other benefits. So let us credit some of our judges that are doing well.
There are plenty of them.
Because we have some judges in this country that are still doing well.
Very well of them.
Okay, then
while we have some corruptors, I'm not going to say.
Okay. My producer says, please don't bother the time. Now, Chukwemeka, I want us to give a cap to this conversation.
Definitely.
The issue is early campaign. The issue is that INEC says it is hamstrung because there are no specific laws.
Let me go.
Two of you have told us that let them first of all test out the power they have,
yes,
before asking for a new law. But Maxwell says, from experience, from pronouncements by the judiciary, they will need to have a new law. If not, they'll be going to court and losing cases, because the courts will insist this thing is not written black and white in the law, so why are you drawing power that you don't have? But I have shown us that the Constitution says that is you are in charge of rules, you are in charge of regulations. Gentlemen, Chukwemeka, your last word. How do we resolve this issue?
We can leave out the issue of criminalizing, because I have said it time without number that non-custodian reprimands are even far better than custodian, reprimands. Some of these rules, there should be sanctions, and when a commission, Inec, pronounces that a particular party's logo should not appear in the ballot box, it's enough sanction. That will be enough sanction. Not giving room to bring in some leadership and some governors who will come up tomorrow to announce that before an imam will preach in the mosque, that he should present his sermons.
No, I have better information
before him.
No, and I have more. It's not. He didn't say so. The governor of Niger State did not say so.
I didn't mention any name.
No, he did not say so. What he said was that preaching will be licensed. He didn't say bring your sermon.
He still don't have the right.
Thank you.
He does not have the right, latitude.
Thank you.
To prevent people from free speech.
Okay, Maxwell. We're asking for what should you do to address this challenge?
My pattern words is that the security agencies should do their work. They should do their work. They should concentrate what is disturbing us, because the attention the security agents has given to Showore and Nnamdi, had it been that 1/4 of it they have given their attention on insecurity, we would not have been where we are today. So last 2 weeks I went to tax office, and I was told that my tax are supposed to pay this year is about 800,000 naira, and they have even told me that by next year it's going to be higher. So I can't be paying my taxpayers' money, and we are using it to be paying an SIN to go and prosecute useless charges, where we have serious matters.
Like we're discussing now.
Like we are discussing. Why should we allow billboards of election that is coming in 2027 to be floating in the entire country, where people are crying for hunger? You say that you have a policy. Is it not distracting you? The president, I'm asking you, is this video not distracting you? Senior President, is it not distracting you? Because if actually you are committed in what you are doing, you will tell them, no, I don't need this. I have been a president of an association, and I told them one person was there. I said I don't need collaborations in this platform. I have a lot of things to do in this platform, in this association. I faced this in under 2 years. I brought the association where it's supposed to be. The people that left, to brought them back. We were able to get hectares of land for them. That is what leadership is all about. You are just elected. You said subsidy gone, and instead of you to own up to show that thing was a mistake, you are still there. And as we are talking about it, people are dying. As we are talking to you now, some hospitals there is no doctor. I told you that my secretary nearly collapsed this morning. We rushed him to one general hospital. I don't want to mention the name. No good doctor in emergency. This I have to go to private. The doctors are on strike, and what you're interested in giving beautiful billboard where you are dancing something with your wife. Is it not shameful to us?
Anyway, we're talking about that breaching the town.
That police is supposed to use powers and environmentals. As they are chasing all these people that are sent water to go and remove all those billboards, pack them and put them in one dustbin.
Thank you very much. In other words, the police has a role there to play. But it told you your parting word.
My parting word is simple. INEC should be bold enough to provide sanctions for this kind of campaign. Let them be bold enough to make examples of these political parties. That's all I say.
Thank you very much. The ball has been thrown back to the court of INEC this morning. I think there are two contending positions in this conversation. INEC has enough powers. Two of my guests have said yes.
This provision, they are going to National Assembly to ask.
Yes.
What will they tie to it?
No, they want specific laws.
No, they want it to be form part of the electoral
Yes.
This one will be part of the electoral.
Yes. So that any campaign is specified as a crime. Let them sanction. There's a regulation given to them. Let them.
Before we have that one, maybe to be another year.
Thank you very much. Everybody here has contributed wonderfully to this program this morning. Let me thank from my right, Chukwemeka Clement, who's always bringing me clement weather when it comes. Chukwemeka, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Perpetually active, but please, let's take it easy. You're a young man yet, and the time comes and goes by. You discover
future governor of Imo State.
Oh, thank you very much. I hope it becomes, but he doesn't become governor by coming.
Maybe after me. He will now be the governor.
Congratulations, gentlemen, two governors. Are you also going to be a governor?
Maybe.
I find it interesting that I have three prospective governors with me on the program this morning, but they're all lawyers, and we just looked at the complaint by Inec chairman that he needs specific law to be able to tackle the challenge of early campaigns. I want to thank you for investing your time with us this morning. My name is Mwabo Zenjoko. Let's meet again tomorrow. Good morning.
Save Nature TV, news in your pocket.